Alright, Heroes Party coming off the list. Let's see what our next lucky winner is. 7. The World's Finest Assassin. I've heard mixed things about this, so let's give it a go. Alright, I watched about 5 episodes of The World's Finest Assassin. It's fine. It's totally average. Some good things and some bad things. I don't think I really need to watch more of it. The first episode I thought was really fucking solid. Just a really cool action, assassin, espionage kind of thing. That's... Oh, almost forgot. Yep, it's an isekai. Because everything's a fucking isekai now. And that part is easily the worst part of the show. The fact that this is a fucking isekai. I actually made a video a while ago, where it's like, where I posited the idea that isekai was ruining otherwise good ideas. I made it based on that one isekai that had the mechs in it. I forgot what it was called, but I'd kind of feel that here, because like the first episode was really solid, and then once the isekai, because like it's a flash forward, like in medias res, to show him in the isekai world, and then it flashes back to him as this grizzled assassin who's like 2 days away from retirement, and then gets betrayed by his own organization, and I really liked that part. And then as soon as the isekaiing happens, it just grinds to a fucking halt and just throws all this dumb shit, isekai shit at you that you've seen 1,000 times already. And it just becomes a fucking slog. It's not interesting in any way, and it actively makes the stakes less interesting. Like, at least when he was a super badass assassin in the real world, like, you kind of got, like, super hyped when he figured out a cool way to come up with, to kill his targets or to get out of a situation. But once he gets isekai'd into the fantasy world, it's basically just, oh, I have super healing and unlimited growth potential. I'm like, okay. Now, I don't have a problem with overpowered characters in general. Like, for example, I really like, Tensura, that time I got reincarnated as a slime. I really like that one. But I like that one because Rimuru does cool shit with his overpowered stuff. This guy doesn't really do cool shit. He just is. And everything is just so easy for him that it doesn't even, like, he doesn't break a sweat at all. He's never ever concerned with anything. And so there's just no fucking stakes to this at all, and I just get bored. And there's some really dumb... All the comedy it tries to have fucking sucks. Especially the mom character, she sucks. But yeah. Otherwise, it's a totally average show. I don't particularly care one way or the other, so let's move on. Alright, World's Finest Assassin is coming off the list. I've also decided to do like what I did with last season and just end on something strong that I know I'm going to like, so we're going to save Season 2 of Mushoku Tensei until the very end, which means we are down to 11 in the randomizer. Let's crank it down 2 notches and see what's next. 9. Deep Insanity, The Lost Child. Alright, dumb title. Let's see if it's a dumb show. So the opening scene of this show is a pretty good example of something that's become a bit of a pet peeve of mine with anime, where we are immediately introduced to a concept that we have no knowledge of whatsoever, and then another character will say, that's not supposed to happen like that, as if we're supposed to understand what it's supposed to happen like. And then there was another show from this season that did that too. I just forget which one it was, but it's very much an anime problem where they just it's mostly with like low tier anime that just gets shoved out the door regardless of whether it's ready or not. That statement made no sense, but it's basically just like this problem where they just completely skip over all the necessary exposition in favor of setting up suspense and a mystery, but you can't have the mystery if you don't know what the fuck is going on. So, yeah, this show is not great. It keeps... None of the characters talk like fucking normal people. Like, there's no sense of this being grounded whatsoever, mostly because all of the dialogue is set up so that it just furthers the mystery without telling us what the fuck is going on. Like, I hate anime in exposition dumps as much as the next guy, but a little bit is kind of essential. You kind of need to know what the fuck is going on. I got like 10 minutes into this first episode and had no fucking clue what was happening other than there is a disease that is turning people into monsters. Don't know what any of the world building around it is, but I guess that's what's happening. Don't know how, but it's happening. And they keep... What made me turn it off is where one of the veteran characters is explaining to the new guy what their actual job is supposed to be, and his explanation is, oh, you might die on this mission. Not what the mission is, because you'd give away what the story's about, I guess. This sucks. Weirdly enough, this is the first anime I've seen in a post-COVID world where, like, you actually see not the effects of COVID per se, but the effects of a widespread disease on the world. Like, there is actually, like, not in the opening scene, but in the scene after it, you actually see people walking around with, like, cloth masks on and stuff, and, like, respirators. And so I've actually been waiting for this. I've been waiting to see what anime's response to COVID is narratively. Apparently it's this pile of garbage. So guess we'll have to wait for another one. Next. Alright. Deep Insanity off the list. Let's see what's next. It is 4. Tesla Note. Oh, we'll see how long I make it into this one, because I know this is a full CG series. Let's go. Yeah, so as expected, this looks like fucking ass. Really, really bad CG. This is the one where it had that infamous gif going around on Twitter of, like, the CG girl standing up from her desk and then walking towards the camera. Weirdly enough, it's not all in CG. Some of it's just traditional animation, which definitely does not blend well with the 2D, or with the CG, but it's not... It looks like ass. It's not X-Arms level bad, but it's certainly not good. The weird thing I noticed, though, like, during the first fight scene in this series, they reuse footage. Which, again, CG models are there so that you don't have to do that. Incompetent. It's not... There was one shot, though, in the intro, though, where I thought, wow, if this wasn't made with awful CG, it might actually look good. And so for a second, I had confidence that the directing might have been good. But no, the directing is pretty fucking garbage, too. It looks like it was done by someone who typically works in live action, um, which again, X-Arm comparisons. But like in that shot of her getting up from the desk and walking towards the camera, that feels like something you would see in live action. So I would have to look it up afterwards to see if this director is an anime person or if he's just some other dude that the production committee just threw onto this project. But yeah, this sucks. Um, it looks like it's gonna play on the Tesla was actually the guy who came up with all these cool inventions and not Thomas Edison thing. Um, but I don't give a shit. Because it just looks like ass, and it's really. I just. What else do I have to say? It's bad CG. Let's move on. Alright. This one's gone. Alright. We're down to 10 with Mushoku Tensei at the very end. So let's crank this down to 9, see what we get next. 7. Kyoukai Senki. This is the last mech show of the season, I think. Let's see if I like it as much as the other mech show from this season. Let's give it a go. Alright, I watched the first episode of Kyoukai Senki, and I think that's really all I need out of this one. Was hoping for another cool mecha from the season, but this just ain't it. I will say the mecha part itself is pretty solid. It's a Sunrise anime, and Sunrise is basically the only ones who still do 2D mecha anymore. And I will say the fucking mecha fight scenes are fucking great. There's some real physical weight to everything in it. And it was just hella fun to watch. Shame it was only in the last, 4 minutes of the show. Or this episode, I should say. But, I don't particularly hate this one. It's just not very interesting. It has interesting concepts, but its execution of those concepts is just not interesting. Most of the dialogue is pretty boring. I like the idea of Japan basically succumbing to economically succumbing in falling into an Germany post World War II scenario where it's basically just occupied by a bunch of different powers is an interesting concept. But they really don't do anything interesting with that. They say that stuff is happening. They say that there's high unemployment. They say that the GDP has gone down. They say that there's violence in the streets, but we don't see any of it. All we see is foreign soldiers being mean to civilians. I've made a little kid cry. And our main the main character has this internal monologue early in the episode where he says it's fucking hard to get a job as a Japanese person now. And I'm like, as he's walking around his fucking smart house with technology that I would kill to have. So it's clearly he's not affected by this at all. So why should we care? Why? You can't just say that poverty is happening and expect the audience to care. You gotta show it. You gotta make us understand how people live. I know what it's like to live with not a lot of money, but you gotta make people understand what it's like for this particular character, so you see how they react to it. And also, this guy doesn't have not a lot of money. He seems pretty fucking well off. So, why? Why him? Why this character? He's just super fucking boring and uninteresting, and his hair sucks. Yeah, that's about all I have to say. Let's move on to the next one. Alright, Kyoukai Senki off the list. Let's see who we get next. It is 4. Takt Op Destiny. I've heard cool things about the animation from this one, not a whole lot about the story. Let's see how it goes. Alright, I just watched all of Takt Op Destiny, or as I believe it's probably supposed to be pronounced, Takt Opus Destiny, because this is a action music series. And to be honest, I probably didn't need to finish this one. Not so much the second half, but I will say the ending really fucking tanked this show. Which is unfortunate because I really loved the first 3 episodes of this. I fucking adored this show. It hit my pretentious music major notes in the right places without being overly pretentious about it. Fucking phenomenal character designs. Probably some of the best character designs from the entire year. The main girl, Cosette, is just insanely fucking cute, both in her regular human form and in her like battle form. And just all around the character designs are really cute. There's another girl, Titan, who's super fucking cute. Like really some of the best, cleanest, most interesting character designs I've seen in a very long time. Which tracks apparently, from what I've heard, the character designer for this also designed the model for the VTuber Ollie. So, and now that I think that tracks, now that I'm thinking about what Ollie looks like. She probably has one of the best VTuber designs out there too, so that makes sense. And just the general animation was fucking great for this. The action scenes got a little muddy in terms of direction. They could have been a little clearer, but the animation itself was always fucking amazing. Just really good looking shit throughout. This was a Madhouse Mappa joint, so I would have been surprised if it looked anything less, to be honest. Though I am concerned about how many animators died to make this. But it's in the story where this anime falls apart in the second half. Now, I think, again, the first 3 episodes, really enjoyed it. Did a really great job of setting up the characters, their interpersonal relationships, and what their goals in life are, how they've been affected by the tragedies in this show. And just the general world building in the show was fairly solid in the first few episodes. So I was pretty much hooked. And then episode 4 kind of sucked, and it never fully recovered from that. Now, there was some good stuff throughout the rest of the series. In particular, so there's a plot point in this where the main girl, Cosette, basically has her personality overwritten by this battle personality, a music art, as it's known, and that character is called Destiny. And there's sort of this arc throughout the series of the characters basically coming to terms with Cosette is essentially dead, and they have to live with the fact that they just have Destiny now. And I liked the conclusion of that character arc where they finally come to terms with, you aren't Cosette, you are Destiny, you are someone else, and we have to respect you as that someone else. And I liked that. I think it could have been a little more in-depth in the lead-up to it, but I liked that plot point was there. But this is also a show where eventually they just stopped explaining what the fuck was going on. Like, the last 3 or 4 episodes in particular, it really just keeps throwing shit at you without properly explaining it, and it just expects you to understand what's going on. A lot of stuff was left on the cutting room floor or something that explained all this shit, or at least made it more believable to the viewer. Because until like maybe a third of the way through the final episode, I was completely fucking lost during this final arc as to why any of this shit was happening. The villain's main plan is fucking dumb as shit when it's revealed in the final episode. And it's also kind of revealed that he's a little off his rocker as well, so I guess that's the justification for it, but it's still a dumb fucking plan. And we don't really get to know this character at all, so we don't get to see inside his head, except for a crowbarred in flashback montage right before he explains his plan. So that sucked. Pretty much any of my connection to the characters was gone by the time these last two episodes hit. I was basically just watching pretty colors across the screen the whole time. And then, like, the main girl's older sister confesses her love for the main guy at one point and kisses him, even though that was never brought up in the series ever. Like, there was very much a main ship in the series, and it was, like, the main guy, Takt, and the main girl, Cosette / Destiny, and the older sister, Aunt Anna, I think was her name, was just kind of there because she's Cosette's sister. And then they throw in, like, oh, I've been in love with you the whole time. I'm like, what? When? Show me where? What? Why? And it's just a wholly dissatisfying ending overall. Which is a shame since this show started out so good. God. This sucked. I will say there was like a mid-season villain that was flat as hell, but at least he made more sense than the final villain for the series. Like, he basically has the shtick of, yeah, we're basically just culling the herd of the population in order to, like, decrease stress on supply, demand, etc., something COVID. Oh yeah, I just pulled that up. Yeah, that makes sense, actually. But, so, like, he was totally flat and comical as a villain, but at least his motives made sense, and he was treated as a flat, comical character. Like, all the other characters treated him as if he was just evil and flat out. And he just gets his metaphorical shit pushed in. So, I respect him a lot more as a villain than the final villain. But, oh well. I will say the arrangements of classical pieces in this, because obviously with fighting with the power of music, they're not really fighting with the power of music. It's just a battle anime, but with the aesthetic of music. I will say the arrangements of different classical pieces in this are definitely arrangements that or at least performances that I haven't heard renditions of before. Like, they do a fairly slow rendition of Beethoven's Fifth. They have a Clair de Lune because of course they're gonna have Clair de Lune in it, and he plays it super fast. He also does a really rushed version of Rhapsody in Blue. So, they're very... I'm not going to say they're bad renditions of these songs, of these pieces, but they're certainly not the way I would have played them. So, there's that. Overall, very disappointing experience. Wish it had been better. Let's move on. Alright, Takt, Opus, Destiny is done. We're going to put it fairly low on the list. And we're going to give that... we're going to give it a light 5. Again, those first 3 episodes were real fucking strong, so I can't say I hated it, but it really lost my interest by the end and came just kind of nothing. So, couple brief notes. I added in the Revue Starlight movie because I didn't know, I forgot that was a thing that was happening. So that's into the pile now. Also, I'm not going to talk about it in any of these videos because I already have a video coming that just came out for it, but I included all of the Poketunes episodes for this year and averaged them out to a decent 8. So, let's move on to see what we get next. I'm going to crank this down. See what it is. 3. Kyuketsu Sugushinu. This is some kind of vampire comedy, I think. Who knows? Let's get into it. Alright, I got like 8 minutes into the first episode of The Vampire Dies Easily. I think that's the English title. And that's the joke. The vampire lord in this, not Dracula, is actually super weak. And he's just kind of a pushover. He collapses into a pile of sand constantly, which isn't a bad premise for a comedy, but the comedy itself in this is just not good at all. They speed through the jokes so fast that it doesn't have time to settle. There's no good build-up to a punchline. It's just really poorly constructed comedy. They're just racing through it. Now, there were a few times where I smirked here and there. I was like, oh, that's kind of funny. This probably works better as a manga I'm pretty sure this is a manga based on the subject matter and how this show looks. But it probably works better as a manga than an anime. Also, this is real cheap looking. It's not bad animation, but it's not good animation either. And the artwork is super flat and boring. The color design is not notable in any way whatsoever. It's just kind of boring. So, let's move on. Alright, let's get rid of this shit. 7 plus 1 left, so let's see. Let's see what's next. 3 again. Taishou Otome Otogibanashi. I've seen a couple people on my Twitter timeline enjoying this one. I don't know what it's about except for maybe it's a romance, like a period piece romance. Let's see how it is. Alright, I got through about 4 episodes of Taishou Maiden Fairytale. I don't hate it. I don't outright dislike it, but it's very frustrating. Like, when it gets on an idea that I think is going to be interesting and it just either rushes through that idea or just drops the ball on it. The rushing in particular is what's really getting me about this series. It really feels like it's speeding through events. I don't know if it's the anime adaptation doing that or if that's just the way it was written in the manga. My personal theory is that it's the anime adaptation because from the looks of it, this is a complete manga. Like, it's 5 volumes, I think, and it ended in 2017 or something. And this is a 1-season show as far as I know. I'm pretty sure it's only 1 season. So cramming 5 volumes of manga into 12 episodes it's not undoable, but you're certainly packing it in. It's a bit more than should be adapted in a single season. So maybe that's it, or maybe the manga is just rushed like that. But it really pops up in the worst possible ways in the series, because I like the softer, quieter moments, and I like the comedy moments in the series, but when it actually gets serious, it really lays it on thick, and it really rushes through the emotions. There's not a lot of build up to these big things. It's big setback for main character happens. Another big setback happens. Another big setback happens. It's just constant, and there's not enough build up and breathing room for this to feel, for the characters to feel like they should be acting the way that they are, is what I'm trying to get at. Yeah, I'm honestly struggling to fully articulate why I don't like this one. I can tell you why I dropped it, is because they diffused one of the tensest moments in the series with oh, the main character actually has big boobs joke, which doesn't make sense considering the rest of the show, and then isn't immediately like swept under the rug afterwards. Like, they make it a point that she can't breathe properly when she's sick, and it turns out it's because she's binding her chest so tight that she can't fucking breathe. Which is dumb. I mean, I understand it considering the time period, but they turned it into like a big boob joke is the issue. And so, like, if it was like a she's actually kind of chubby joke, I could understand that because it's like she has to play up to societal expectations of being a slim, proper lady. That would have been interesting. But it's just a, oh, she actually has big tits joke. So that kind of pissed me off. I also am not a huge fan of this main character. I definitely understand like his situation, and I understand why he acts the way he does, but his situation is also very over the top, and it just feels kind of fantastical, and it's just it's not fun to watch him, really. It's not fun, and it's not interesting to watch him, because he always has the exact same reaction to everything. So, I think I'm done with this one. I don't dislike it, and I kind of am disappointed that I won't get to see like a full story to its completion, presumably. But let's move on to the next one.
Alright, I'm gonna take Taishou Otome off the list. I also added Yoru no Kuni, which is like a short web series based around like Aimer or something. And I've also decided I'm gonna make the Revue Starlight movie the second to last thing. So I'm just going to bundle these two together. So only cranking it down one notch for now. It gives us 7 shows left. Let's see what it is. It is 4. Build Divide. Don't know what this is. Let's give it a shot.
Alright, I got about 8 episodes into Build Divide. Hashtag 000000 code : black. Although I believe that's a bit of a redundancy, since if I recall correctly, in hex code 000000 is the code for black. So, dumb title that is also redundant. Did not expect this to be a card game anime. And I got about a minute and a half into her explaining the rules to this guy mid-match, where I realized that I did not understand anything of what was just happening, and so I gave up. I'm surprised that this is a decent looking show. It doesn't look like complete ass. It's not great looking, but it's not incompetent, which is absolutely what I was expecting. So props to that, I guess. Although the character designs look a little weird. But yeah, I got 8 minutes into the show and I didn't understand what I was watching for. Like, what was the point? Like, this dude just shows up in this card game world, doesn't know how he got there, apparently, and then this cute anime girl just starts explaining a card game to him, which I wasn't opposed to until I realized that I did not give a shit about the card game at all. And they were going real in-depth. This is a Yu-Gi-Oh! Level card game. This is not like this is not a basic card game. Like, it had some complexity to it, and they were just like, there are phases to this game. Like an attack phase, an energy phase, or whatever the fuck it is. I just was not about that. Weird thing about the intro, like, it starts with the girls humming Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, and I don't know if it was intended to be this way or if it was just that no one caught this, but the way she's humming, the pitches she hits makes it sound like it's in a minor key. So either that was intentional and it was there to set the tone for the series, or she's just not good at humming. And I think it's the latter because it's not all in a minor key. It's weirdly mixed in. The pitches are off. Weird. Let's move on.
Alright. Build Divide. Off the list. Let's see who's next. Next lucky winner. Are we on 6 now? Alright, I thought... No, it should be down to 5 now. Apparently. I can't count. But anyway. Let's re-roll. See what we get. 5. Faraway Paladin. Alright. Let's see how this goes.
Not quite done with this one yet. So, got about 2 episodes into Faraway Paladin, and that was the most average thing I've seen in a long time. Just a flat 5. Nothing particularly noteworthy about it, aside from the fact that the main character is being raised by undead characters. That's literally the only interesting thing about this show. The magic system looks interesting on the surface, but then when you see it used in a practical battle and one of the characters just says, "No, negate that," like every time, like that, it really makes the battle less interesting. Like it's word-based magic, so one of the spells you can cast is just like it literally, I guess it literally means that is false. So it's basically just a negation spell to negate a spell, which is super fucking boring. The mythology of the world is honestly, it's explained too much to the point where I'm just kind of zoning out in the middle of explanations, and I just don't really care. The main character is just a super average isekai protagonist. The only thing that's really motivating me in these first couple episodes is whatever secret these undead characters are hiding from our isekai dude. But I don't particularly care anymore because it's just super average and uninteresting. Let's move on.